I talked to them to see what was going on, and she was like, "We made a mistake again. Sorry for." I'm like,
what state did this happen in?
California.
Okay. I hear what you're saying, man. I really do. And I'm sorry that you've been out of work this long. But, as far as like the insurance claim and how it works, it's, if the other driver doesn't have insurance, and there's no pathway forward against him, he doesn't have any, substantial assets to pursue, the only thing you could do is you notify your insurance that the other driver has no insurance. And then, like you said, you now start to pursue your uninsured motorist claim on your policy of $50,000. Like they wouldn't have to give anything more than that. And, that settlement, that's supposed to cover all your medical bills, all your lost wages, legal fees, pain and suffering, mental anguish, lost joys, anything that you can get compensated for an injury claim. It's all supposed to come out of that settlement. So if you get the $50,000, it's true that there's legal fees there out of the $50,000. What your law firm should do is they should be able to reduce those medical bills as low as they possibly can to try to put as much money as they can in your pocket. And then if you want to sign up for health insurance or something like that to go get that surgery later, you could do that. You do have health insurance?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have like Medicaid or Medicare?
No, I got insurance through the state.
Okay. How long ago did you finish all your medical treatment?
We made that 3-4 months ago.
If it's been 3 or 4 months since you finished medical treatment and you have, a surgery fusion recommended on this case, you typically you don't need to show the insurance company much more than that. Like you could show them the initial treatment and records and MRIs, and then
MRIs, I got everything. And they, since like 2 months ago, or like a month ago too, I called them to see if there was an update. They were only waiting for the hospital bill, which they got. I gave them the bill too, because it was not much.
Based on what you said, there's more than enough to at least send a quick demand out to the insurance company to see what they say. The worst that they can say is that they need more information, and then they could resubmit another demand. But the best scenario is that they could send what they have right now and just see if that's enough to get them to give the full limits over. It doesn't hurt to at least try.
Yeah, and it's already going to be, it's already a year and something of my injury.
Yeah.
And yesterday I talked to them to see what was going on, and she was like, "We made a mistake again. Sorry for." I'm like, whatever mistake they did, and I'm like, okay, what's gonna happen? And she goes, we're waiting for the paperwork again for the hospital, and so we can send the demand letter, and I'm gonna put it as a priority to I guess the lady that's helping me told the lawyer she's gonna put the paperwork to be a priority.
Okay.
Okay, this is like the third time.
I have to hop on another call right now.
No, go ahead. I appreciate your time. And let me call. Actually, I'm going to call them right now and see what they say.
Yeah, this happens a lot. Someone gets hit by a driver with no insurance. They're hurt. They need medical treatment. They're hopeful that they could get a settlement. They have lost wages piling up, bills piling up. They're trying to think of how they're going to get through this next phase of their life. And then they have to use their uninsured motorist coverage. This gentleman has $50,000 in uninsured motorist coverage. I'm glad that he at least has uninsured motorist coverage, because if he didn't, there may be no pathway at all to get any type of recovery. What we have here is he's been getting medical treatment. The bills are starting to pile up. A demand letter needs to be sent to his insurance company as soon as possible to see if this insurance company can extend their full policy limits, and go to all those medical providers and get them to reduce their bills as low as possible. That's his best scenario, to put as much money as he can in his pocket so that he could then go forward with whatever other medical procedures that he needs to do, and he could use health insurance to get it paid for. Another thing that he mentioned here is that because the law firm is taking too long to process this case, it's starting to have a trickle effect. He was able to get a paycheck from disability, but now disability's not paying anymore. Well, he needs surgery to be able to go back to work. He can't get the surgery because the case isn't settled yet, and there's not enough limits for him to get the surgery. Because he hasn't gotten the surgery, he can't go back to work, and because he can't go back to work, he's not getting a paycheck. And because he's not getting a paycheck, he's not able to pay his bills, his rent, his car payment, phone, whatever else that you got to pay, food, gas, everything, overhead. You know, all those things start to pile up and pile up and pile up. So when a law firm takes their sweet time and drops the ball and doesn't process these cases in a good pace, a fair pace, you know, it's just unfair to the client, you know, and that's just really unfortunate. So I feel for this guy, and I hope that it all works out. And, you know, yeah, if you're in an accident and the other driver doesn't have insurance, or whether they do or they don't, if you're going after an insurance policy for your claim, you want to make sure that your medical treatment is very tight. You want to make sure that you keep a finger on the pulse to see where your bills are. And you also want to make sure that record requests are being sent out regularly. Because if record requests are being sent out right away, as soon as that person goes to the doctor, they're in motion and you're getting them in-house. What this gentleman says is that they're still waiting for a hospital bill. A hospital bill? His accident was over a year ago. They should have requested the hospital bill right away, and they would have had the hospital bill before any of the other bills even came in. So here he is trying to get a demand letter out, and he can't even do that because he doesn't have all the documentation to do it. So hope this video has been educational for you. If you'd like a free case evaluation, you can reach out anytime, 832-925-2030. God bless you and have a good day.